Welcome to USA Gymnastics webinars. Today's topic, we will be covering Xcel judging, and we have Region 1 Xcel Committee Chair Jill Preston, Region 2 Xcel Committee Chair Diane Palmer, and our very own Region 5 Xcel Committee Chair Nancy Gibson here to talk to us about the changes with the Xcel program and helpful judging tips for Xcel coaches and judges.
Hello, this is Diane Palmer, the Region 2 Xcel Chair, and we're going to start with vault and bars, starting with bronze vault 1. There has been a start value change. The vault is now worth 9.0, with each phase, stretch jump to the mat and step to the handstand flat back, being worth 4.5. Just a reminder that if the gymnast fails to do the stretch jump to the mat, say runs up onto the board, then they are still allowed to do the step into the handstand flat back phase. There has been a new deduction added to the handstand flat back phase, and that is up to 2.0 for failing to show the vertical position between the hands and the hips, causing a rolling action. And another reminder, the run is not judged. In this video clip, we are going to see some examples of this vault. Here's a stretch jump, performed reasonably well with some steps on landing, and then she can step back onto the board to do the handstand flat back. The next demonstration, you will see that the gymnast tucks her legs in the air. So the up to 5/10 deduction of tuck will be applied. She also gives us a good example of the lack of vertical and the rolling action. Our third athlete runs up on the board, so she has failed to do the first portion for which she received a 0. Again, she is allowed to do the handstand flat back, and if she does it perfectly, she would receive a 4.5. If she has deductions that are more than 5/10, say she has 7/10 deductions in body position, etc., for that phase of the vault, that would technically result in a 3.8 score. However, we do have the courtesy score of 4.0. So in that case, she would receive the courtesy score of 4.0. Bronze vault 2 is just like the JO level 3 compulsory vault. It has a 10.0 start value. There have been no changes, but just a couple of reminders. The run is not judged, and the tape line is not used. If you as judges are at a meet where the session contains both JO level 3 and Xcel bronze athletes, you would have to ignore the tape line for that portion, or the Xcel athletes, and not judge the run for them. We don't have any demonstrations because I'm sure we're all familiar with that vault. Silver Vault 1 is a new vault. It has a 9.5 start value. It is comprised of a stretch jump to the table, which is worth 5.0, and a handstand flat back onto the stack mat, which is worth 4.5. It's important that the gymnasts put their hands on the mat. They may step on the mat if needed, or they may step on the table, but the hands must go on the mat. Again, the run is not judged. The mat must be 8 inches plus or minus 2 inches above the table, and that is new for this year. Also, that up to 2.0 rolling action deduction would be applied if necessary. Our next slide shows examples of this vault. In the first vault, we see a reasonably good stretch jump to the table, and then a handstand flat back with some body position issues. She did have some steps on landing, but it was successfully completed. In this next case, the gymnast failed to do the stretch jump onto the table, but she can now do the handstand flat back. Oops, there's an extra kick for 3/10, and a very good example of the rolling action and body position issue. Because that portion of the vault is only worth 4.5, and she had the extra kick of 3/10 and certainly more deductions for the rolling action and body position in the handstand, she would receive the 4.0 courtesy score for that vault. Silver Vault 2 has not changed in terms of start value. It is a handspring to the table with repulsion to the flat back on the stacked mats. Again, remember that the Silver Vault mats must be 8 inches plus or minus 2 inches above the table. The run is not judged. As judges, it will be important for us to use height, distance, and the too long in support deduction of up to 0.5 to distinguish between the athletes. One reminder about both bronze and silver vaults is that the athlete may choose to do one of each if she would like. She could do Silver Vault 1 on her first turn and then do Silver Vault 2 for her second turn. And of course, the best score would count for the athlete. In the next demonstration, we see 2 examples. A handspring to the flat back, done reasonably well, and an example of the handspring flat back with good leg and arm form. However, she was rounded in the shoulders and hips and failed to show the vertical position. So that rolling action up to 2.0 deduction would apply. At gold and platinum vault, there have been no changes for Xcel. The only thing to remind you of is if gold athletes use alternative springboard, then their start value is 9.5. For diamonds, you will notice in the top left-hand corner 2 yellow shaded vaults, the handspring and the Yamashita. Those start values are now 9.4, and that is a change from last year. In addition, we have added 3 vaults in the right-hand corner, the handspring front tuck off, the layout Suk, and the laid out Yurchenko, and all of those have 10.0 start values. Now we'll move on to bars, and this is some general information for bars beam and floor. Just a reminder that they all have start values of 10.0. Special requirements, there are 4 at 5/10 each. Platinum and diamond athletes are also required to do a certain amount of A's and B's, so that will be something extra to pay attention to while judging those athletes. New at the diamond division is that 1 D value part will be allowed. It may fulfill value part or special requirement. However, there is no bonus, and more than 1 D value part would receive a 5/10 unallowable skill deduction, and that is each. Just a reminder, it is okay for the coaches to be near the apparatus in Xcel. Also, optional execution amplitude deductions apply in general. There may be a couple of specific exceptions on each event that will be covered. No composition deductions at Xcel for any division and for any event. The maximum execution deduction of 4.0 includes falls, but not artistry or spotting. Also, that maximum execution deduction, of course, does not include start value issues if they are missing special requirements. Again, a reminder about the courtesy score for an extremely short routine or something unusual, or if the score results in 4.0 or below, then this courtesy score would be applied. Moving on to specifics for uneven bars, the counter swing, which is allowed at silver, gold, and platinum, has a new deduction. If the body is arched and the hips are open to an extended position on the counterswing portion, and the feet are extended over the low bar, we used to call it a flare position, then the deduction will be a flat 0.3. Again, that is applied only at silver, gold, and platinum because they are the only athletes allowed to do that skill. Just a reminder, there are no extra swing deductions taken at bronze, silver, and gold. However, those, what we would normally call extra swings, could have other execution deductions, and those should be applied if necessary. Clarified by the technical committee this year was that the cast squat on, this also applies to cast shoot through, the cast squat on is 1A value part. If the athlete does a cast squat on and then does a sole circle completely around the bar, that would be 2A value parts. That would also apply to a cast, put their feet on, and then do a sole circle dismount. That would count as 2A value parts. Just a reminder, 1D is now allowed at diamond only, and that may fulfill value part and special requirement, and any extras would receive the 5/10 unallowable deduction. A dismount clarification. When an athlete does a dismount from any of the Xcel lists or something that's in the Xcel code of points that does not meet the special requirement for her division, only deduct 5/10 for the missing special requirement. However, if she performs a dismount that is not on any Xcel skill list or the code of points, or is unallowable for her division, then the no dismount deduction will apply. Examples: if a gold athlete did a sole circle from the low bar, a gold athlete is expected to do a dismount from the high bar. The sole circle from the low bar is on the skill chart for Xcel. So in that case, she would only receive the 5/10 off of her start value for the missing dismount special requirement. In the other case, if a silver athlete did a flyaway, silver athletes are not allowed to do salto dismount. In that case, it is restricted or unallowable for her division. So she would receive the 5/10 missing special, the 5/10 for the unallowable, and the 3/10 for no dismount. Now we will move on to bronze bars. Just a reminder, they have 4A value parts or skills required. Their cast has no angle requirement, so their hips just need to leave the bar. A circle skill that's not in their mount or dismount, and then a dismount. They cannot do any Bs, no salto dismounts, no high bar, and are required mostly to do As from the code of points, Xcel code of points, and the bronze skill chart. One change that has occurred for this coming season is that their warm-up is now 30 seconds, and that 30 seconds for bronze applies to both to all events. In this next video clip, we will see a routine from a bronze division athlete. She has a pullover for one of her skills, a leg cut for number 2, a stride circle meets her stride circle and is the 3rd skill, a leg cut backward for the 4th, and an underswing dismount. She has met all of her requirements except there was never any cast with her hips leaving the bar. So her start value would be 9.5 for that missing special requirement. Moving on to silver, the only difference between bronze and silver is that now they must have 5 value parts or skills, and the cast must be a minimum of 45 degrees below horizontal. And just a reminder, the cast is an all or none. If it's 44 degrees, there would be no special requirement and no value part given. Oh, excuse me. The value part would be given because we have other casts, but there would be no special requirement. The circle skill cannot be in the mount or dismount again, and then they have to have a dismount. No Bs, no salto dismounts, no giants, As or Bs. However, now they can go to the high bar. Their allowable skills are from the Xcel Code of Points and the Silver Skill Chart.
And Diane, I'm just going to interject really quickly here for any attendees that have just dialed into the audio portion of the webinar. We are taking your questions that are submitted in the chat box, and we'll be addressing those at the end of the presentation.
Okay, this is a routine for a silver athlete. She's done a pullover, a front hip circle, so she's already met her circle skill. The cast may or may not have been to 45 degrees, and she does the swing half turn. Now, depending on your angle, you may or may not have given the 45-degree cast. When I looked at it slow motion and could stop it, I would say yes, but that's not how we judge. So that would be a judgment call. However, if you said she made the 45-degree cast, she would have a 10-0 start value because she did meet all the special requirements. And at gold, now they need a minimum of 6 A value parts or skills. Their cast must be to horizontal, and this is different from last year. Last year it was a cast to horizontal, but there was a little bit leeway and some amplitude deductions that could apply. This year it is all or none. They either casted to horizontal or they did not. The circle skill, again, not in the mount or dismount, and the dismount must be from the high bar. Remember that the cast to horizontal must achieve that angle for the special requirement. And other casts have no angle requirement, but receive execution deductions as needed. Another new concept for gold bars is that the clear hip circles, there will not be any angle deductions applied at gold. So those you can take off of your little charts that you use for judging. And the clear hip angle deductions will still be applied at platinum and diamond. There are no giants allowed and no release skills with a bar change. So you may see straddle cut catches or soul circle release the bar half turns, but otherwise no releases like a bail, even though it's a B, or can be a B. Allowable skills are the A's and B's from the Xcel Code of Points and the gold skill chart. In the next routine, we're going to see a gold division athlete do her routine. She has her tip, and she's already met her cast to horizontal, and she met her circle. And she finishes with a flyaway, which is acceptable. She had 6 skills and had her cast, her circle, and her dismount from the high bar. So she would have a 10-0 start value. At platinum, they are now required to do a kip. The cast must be above horizontal. So even 1 degree above horizontal would be given credit. Their circle skill requirement is the same, and their dismount again needs to be from the high bar. Now you need to pay attention to their value parts in terms of 6 A's and 1 B. They may do A's and B's from the Xcel Code of Points. The cast above horizontal, when they do a cast between 89 degrees and 21 degrees from vertical, then they would receive an A value part, and that would meet their special requirement. If it is 90 degrees or horizontal and below, there would be no value part and no special requirement. They're not allowed to do C's or higher. The only exception would be a clear hip circle to handstand, and that counts as a B. Platinum athletes are also allowed to do one half swing counterswing as an A value part. Any others would incur a 3/10 extra swing deduction. In this next film, we'll see a platinum routine. She has met her requirements for her kip. She has done a B straddle back with some execution deductions. Another kip. An allowed counterswing tap swing, and a flyaway dismount, so her dismount was from the high bar. The issue with this routine is there never was any kind of cast that met the requirement of above horizontal. So this routine would receive a 9.5 start value. For diamond bars, their cast must be 45 degrees from vertical or above horizontal. And this is the same cast we look at for JO level 7, so we should be familiar with that. They need to do a minimum B circle, and then in addition they need to do a release, a pirouette, or a second different minimum B circle. And then their dismount must be a salto dismount from the high bar. Now, looking at special requirement 2 and 3, it says second different minimum B circle for special requirement 3. In Xcel, if an athlete does a circle on the low bar and does the same circle on the high bar, those are considered two different skills. So it's possible you would see a clear hip circle on the low bar and then clear hip circle on the high bar. And if that occurred, the athlete has met both special requirements of 2 and 3 for a minimum B circle. Diamond athletes need to do 5 A's and 2 B's. They can do their A's, B's, and C's from the Xcel code of points. And remember, they are allowed to do 1 D value part. Again, there's no bonus, and any more would receive the 5/10 unallowable skill deduction. If their cast is between 45 and 21 degrees from vertical, they would receive their A value part and special requirement. If it was 46 from vertical and below, then we would lose the value part and special requirement. Excuse me for a minute, but my screen just went down, so I'm going to try and retrieve that. There we go.
Okay, you got it? Okay.
Yep, it's back.
Okay.
Thank you. So this is just a review of the cast, of the special requirements for bars. Up at the top in black with white printing, you see 45 degrees above horizontal for diamond, above horizontal for platinum. Horizontal is for gold, 45 below for below horizontal for silver, and the hips only need to leave the bar for bronze. And that concludes my portion of the presentation, and I believe Jill is next for balance beam.
Yes. This is Jill Press. Or did you want to go over that part?
Oh, sorry, I forgot about this one. Okay. This shows some cast. That's hips leaving the bar, and certainly silver, and gold, and maybe platinum. She's quite close to being above horizontal. And the fourth one was a little bit more in a gray area. So just examples of the cast. Okay, thank you.
All right, this is Jill Preston from Region 1, and I'll be going over balance beam. We're going to start with some specifics. In Xcel, we do have deductions for rhythm, dynamics, sureness, and footwork up to 2/10, as well as posture and artistry up to 3/10, and you'll want to make sure you use those to separate routines. Elements are recognized 2 times if they're in a different connection, and the 3rd time they get no value part or special requirement. Handstands, regardless of angle achieved, whether they're to 45 degrees or vertical, they are all considered the same skill. All acro skills must start and finish on the beam. So if a special requirement is a vertical acro skill, they will need to start and finish that on the balance beam. They cannot use it as a dismount. And special requirement credit awarded for cross or side split leaps or jumps within 20 degrees of the specific angle will get value part. And they'll receive up to 2/10 for insufficient split. And in our Xcel Code of Points, we do have a split angle chart that outlines all of this clearly. We just had to clarify this year that on the bronze special requirement of a half turn, that they do get special requirement and value part credit if they do 1 degree more than half of the turn. So if they do a turn that's 91 degrees to 180 degrees, they will get the requirement for this. We also added these skills to our Xcel Code of Points: a pullover mount and a laying on the beam position, push up to bridge, and kick over. So these have been added. We also clarified that rolls on any roll, the hand position does not matter. And for dismounts, we have listed cartwheel to handstand dismounts, but now we'll be listing cartwheel or any entrance to handstand dismounts. So, for example, if they did a back walkover, stopped in handstand, and then turned to dismount, they would receive the dismount or special requirement for this. The dismount clarification that Diane outlined for bars will also apply for balance beam. So if they perform a dismount from any Xcel skill list or from the Xcel Code of Points that does not meet the special requirement for that level but is listed in the Code of Points, they would only receive the missing dismount special requirement deduction of 5/10 off the start value. If they perform a dismount that is not in any Xcel list or the Xcel Code of Points or is unallowable, the no dismount deduction will apply. Examples: if a gold athlete does a cartwheel to handstand dismount and lands on the same side as the beam with no twist off, you would still just apply the 5/10 deduction, and if a silver athlete performed a punch front full, you would take the 5/10 missing the special requirement as well as the no dismount deduction. Now we're on to each division. We have no changes in special requirements for the bronze athletes. They have their special requirements of a half turn on 1 foot or 2 feet, a jump or a leap that's not included in the mount or a dismount, an acro skill of non-flight, and a dismount. They're not allowed to do any B or higher skills. They're not allowed to do any salto, aerial dismounts, and no walkovers of any kind. Their allowable skills are A, value parts from the Xcel Code of Points and the bronze skill chart. And the only change, again, in bronze is the 30-second warm-up that has been, that's the new time. We do have some changes to our skill list. In bronze, if they do a partial handstand, this is new, their feet do not need to touch to receive credit for this. So they could do a handstand where their lead leg gets just to 45, that's the only requirement, but their other leg doesn't close. And then as well on here is listed the cartwheel dismount where it says cartwheel or any entrance, so make sure you pay attention to this when giving your dismount requirements. You can find all these lists in the Xcel Code of Points. Here's some examples of different handstands requirements. This first one would be an example of the legs not closing, but the lead leg reaching 45. That one is a little bit tighter, so you would have less execution deductions. All right, moving on to the next. We have some routine examples for bronze. Routine number 1 would be a jump to front support mount, a pivot turn, a lever to handstand, a tuck jump, and a cartwheel to partial handstand dismount. This would receive a 10 start value as it has all the special requirements, and just a reminder that a lever does count as an acro skill in bronze. Routine number 2 has a pullover mount, a forward roll, a half turn on 1 foot, and a straddle jump dismount. This routine would receive a 9.5 start value because she does not have a jump or leap that starts and finishes on the beam. The straddle jump dismount will not fulfill the jump special requirement. It will only fulfill the dismount special requirement.
And just to interject before the next slide really quickly, Jill, this presentation is available online on the webinars page. It will be available today in its entirety, so you can watch the presentation and hear the presenters, and the PowerPointed slides will also be available for downloading and printing.
Moving on to silver, again, we do not have any changes in our special requirements. They have the special requirements of a minimum of a half turn on one foot, one jump or leap to 90 degrees, it can be cross or side split, one acro scale non-flight, and a dismount. B stance is allowed, but B or higher acro is not allowed. And allowable skills are A value parts from the Xcel code of points and the silver skill chart, as well as the B dance skills. Some silver routine examples. In routine 1, she does a mount with no value. Then she does a push-up to bridge kickover. She does a tuck jump and then wobbles and then does a split jump to 90 degrees. She does a heel snap turn and then a cartwheel with a quarter turn dismount. This routine would receive a 10-0 start value. There's no penalty for doing a wobble between the tuck jump and split jump because their special requirement is only a 90-degree split jump. In routine number 2, this one's a little bit harder. She would do a mount of no value. She performs a back walkover, a half turn, a straddle jump to 90 degrees, and a back walkover to a quarter turn dismount. So this would also be a 10-0 start value. In gold, we don't have any special requirement changes. They are a minimum of a full turn on one foot. At gold, they are required to have a dance series and must have a minimum of 2 skills, same or different, as well as one jump or leap with 90 degrees cross or side split. And the split jump can be isolated or in the dance series. They're also required to have 2 acro skills. One must achieve or pass through vertical with or without flight, and it can be isolated or in a series, as well as a dismount. Allowable skills for gold balance beam are A and B value parts in the Xcel code of points, as well as the gold skill chart, and no C value parts are allowed. Here's our routine examples for gold. Routine 1 has a jump onto the beam mount, a handstand to vertical, a full turn, a split jump to 90 degrees immediately connected to a tuck jump. We have a partial handstand connected to a straight jump, and a gainer tuck dismount off the side. This routine does have a 10-0 start value. The first acro skill is a handstand to vertical, and the second acro skill is a handstand to partial angle. But since it's connected to a straight jump, it counts as in a different connection and therefore can count for the requirement. In routine number 2, the gymnast does a mount of no value. They do a back walkover, which passes through vertical. They do a straddle jump to 100 degrees. Then they do a full turn. Then they have a tuck jump and a cartwheel as their second acro. And then they do a cartwheel to side handstand quarter twist dismount. That would be a 9.5 start value because there is no dance series. The straddle jump was by itself with a full turn in between that and the tuck jump. On platinum balance beams, the special requirements stayed the same. They are a minimum of a full turn on one foot, the dance series and splitting jump, but this time the split jump is required to be 120 degrees. They required one acro skill with flight or an acro series with or without flight and a dismount. At platinum, you have to watch your A's and B's. They're required to have 6 A's and 1 B value parts. The allowable skills are A and B value parts from the Xcel code of points, as well as C dance, but no C or higher acro value parts are allowed in platinum. Our routine examples for platinum are routine 1. She jumps to a forward roll mount, which is an A. She does a switch leap to 120 degrees connected to a tuck jump. She has a front walkover and then does a full turn and then does a back walkover and does a front tuck dismount. She does have her 6 A's in 1B, but she has no acro connection or acro flight. The dismount does not count as an acro flight element, so she would have a 9.5 start value. In routine number 2, she does a chest stand mount, which is an A value part. She does a back walkover connected to a second back walkover. Her jumps are a straddle jump to 180 connected to a split jump to 120. She has a full turn and a gainer tuck dismount off the side. This fulfills all the special requirements, and she has her 6 A's and 1B. And our last division, diamond, those special requirements are a full turn on 1 foot, the same dance series requirement, minimum of 2 skills, same or different, and 1 jump or leap with a minimum this time of 150 cross or side split. Third requirement is 1 acro skill with flight and an acro series with or without flight. And the acro skill with flight can be isolated or in a series. And the dismount this time must be a salto or an aerial dismount. In diamond, there are required 5 A's and 2 B value parts, and allowable skills are A, B's, and C's from the Xcel code of points, as well as if they choose to do a D, this is allowed, but it's not a requirement, but receives no bonus or penalty for the first one. So on to our routine examples for diamond. In routine 1, she does a mount of no value. She does a switch leap isolated that does go to 180 degrees. She does a back walkover flip-flop series connected. She has a full turn. She has a tuck jump, straight jump, and then a front pike dismount. She has a 10.0 start value. She has met all her special requirements and has her 5 A's and 2 B's. In routine number 2, she does a tuck jump up to the beam mount, which is an A. She does a front handspring and wobbles, and then does a second front handspring that was supposed to be in the series, but it was not connected. She does a split jump to 130 degrees connected to a wolf jump. She does a full turn, and then a cartwheel back tuck dismount. This routine would receive a 9.2 start value. She would have all 6 A's, but only 1 B. And she's also missing the acro series requirement because she did not connect her front handspring series. And since the second front handspring was the same as the first front handspring, she would also be missing the B. And the split jump does receive the special requirement credit, but will not be eligible for the B value part credit. All right, that's it for B. Moving on to floor.
And this is Nancy Gibson and Region 5, and I'll be talking a little bit about floor today and some of the changes. We have some overall deductions that will help show a difference between your good and better gymnast. We have up to 2/10 of rhythm for the whole exercise, and also throughout the whole exercise, if they have relaxed or incorrect footwork on non-value parts throughout the exercise, you can take up to 2/10 for the full routine. You have a dynamics of up to 2/10, and there's also an up to 3/10 deduction for relaxed or incorrect leg position, body posture, insufficient flexibility, and that again is in non-value parts throughout the whole exercise. We have 3/10 of artistry, and you can take no more than 1/10 in each one of the categories. Again, the maximum deduction on your execution is 4.0, and remember that artistry and spotting is not included in that deduction. Again, if you have the short routine or there's a lot of issues with execution, the courtesy score is a 4.0. Something new this year that we clarified, the bronze and silver gymnasts, it is okay to have a meet and have them on a tumbling strip only, provided it's a minimum of 8 feet wide and 56 feet long, and the meet director does need to put that into the pre-meet info. Again, same as on beam, special requirement credit will be awarded for cross or side split leaps or jumps within 20 degrees of the specified split angle, and there, again, in the Xcel code of points, we'll have a chart that will show you all of those. Excuse me. A dive roll
is not considered a flight element because the brunt of the weight of your body comes down on your shoulders and your back. And we do need to remember that a chassé, a stretch jump, and also an ensemble, they are not group 1 value parts or skills that can be counted in the dance path. Nothing has changed on the bronze floor exercise requirements. They have an acro connection with a minimum of 2 directly connected acro skills with or without flight. Then they need 1 acro skill somewhere else in the routine that is not in special requirement number 1 with or without flight. Their dance paths of 2 group 1 value parts off of the Xcel code or in the bronze Xcel chart, and it must have one of the elements has to have a 1-foot takeoff, a leap, of a 60-degree cross or side split. They have a minimum of a half turn on 1 foot. And again, they can do no B or higher skills, but if they would do a straddle jump or a side leap that would have a 180 or that would fall into the B category, they will receive a value part credit for that. No saltos or aerials. They have a maximum of 2 flight skills in their routine. Anything after that will be a 5/10 unallowable skill deduction for each. And please remember on floor, we also always count in chronological order the skills that are done. A round-off rebound backward roll is okay as the acro connection, and the change for bronze, again, on all the events is a 30-second warm-up. We have a couple of routine examples. The first test is a dive roll, step out to a cartwheel, which is a fine because they do not need to have a flight skill within their first directly connected acro skill. It can be with or without flight. The dance pass, if they do a chassé leap, chassé cat leap, they have the leap and the cat leap. Half turn on 1 foot, and their second acro skill is their backward roll to a stand. That is isolated from the first pass. In routine number 2, round-off rebound, backward roll, which is acceptable. They do a saison to a tuck jump, a handstand forward roll split jump, and then a full turn on 1 foot. And this would be a 9.5 start value due to the fact that none of the jumps, all of them are jumps. They have no leap that takes off from 1 foot. Silver floor, they need an acro connection with a minimum of 2 directly connected acro skills, 1 with flight. Then they either need a second acro connection with a minimum of 2 directly connected skills with or without flight, or 1 isolated acro skill with flight. And this is a change, so it will be needed to add it to your chart that on the silver they need to have an isolated skill somewhere else in their routine. Their dance pass is the same, except now we have a 90-degree cross or side split leap, and they have a full turn on 1 foot. They can have no B or higher acro skills, but they may do B dance. And again, for the silvers, the round-off rebound backward roll is an okay acro connection. They can only have a maximum of 1 aerial or salto in the routine. Anything more than that, they would receive the 5/10 deduction from the start value. And then we have a couple of silver routine examples. Her first pass, she does a round-off neck handspring. She does her split leap to 90 degrees into a side leap. She has the full turn on 1 foot. And then, as we have discussed, she does a dive roll, and it is missing then a acro flight skill, so her second special requirement will be missing, and it'll be a 9.5 start value. Routine number 2, the round-off rebound back extension, which is okay for silver. She does a side split leap with 90 degrees, chassé, split leap 100 degrees. 1.5 turn on 1 foot, it's okay. It's a B, but it's a dance skill. And a front walkover connected to a handstand forward roll. Now, she receives a 9.5 start value because the dance path has the same leap, and it must be 2 different skills. on gold, and I would like to make a mention that the minutes, if you've already read them online, there's a typo on the gold floor minutes, and they should have one now that has been dated online, and we will get to that when we in a moment here. The charts and all are correct, but the minutes have if you've read the first minutes, there isn't a mistake in there. So on the first special requirement, you have to have a minimum of 2 directly connected acro skills, both with flight. For the second requirement, you need either a second acro connection with a minimum of 2 directly connected skills with flight, and there's where the error is. On the first minute, it says with or without flight. So it must be 2 directly connected with flight, or 1 isolated aerial or salto. Their dance pass, the 2 different group 1 value parts, and now we are up to 120 degrees. Remember that we have 20 degrees to play with. A minimum of full turn on 1 foot. They can do all A's and B's from the Xcel code or the gold skill chart. They can do no B value part saltos and no C or higher value part allowed at all. So they, again, can do the B dance. We have a couple of examples for gold routines. Round off back handspring is her first pass. She does a switch leg leap, which is okay, it's a B, to the wolf hop. She has a full turn on 1 foot, and then she has a front handspring step out, round off back handspring. So it is a different pass than the first one because we have the addition of a front handspring step out. On routine 2, she does a front handspring step out, round off back handspring, switch leg leap to the wolf hop, the full turn, and now she does a round off back handspring for her second pass. So she has a 9.5 start value because the second flip-flop has the same entrance or exit as the first flip-flop in the round-off flip-flop. So therefore, she would have a 0 value part on that flip-flop, and so she would not get the special requirement. And we have an example of a floor routine. With a round-off back handspring, back handspring. And a round-off straddle jump. Cat full. Her split leap to a tuck jump, so she has her dance pass. She has her full turn. And she finishes with a round-off back handspring. And since that is her third back handspring, it has a 0 value part, so she does not get her second connection, acro connection with a minimum of 2 directly connected flights, and she does not have an aerial or a salto in that routine. So she would have a 9.5 start value. On platinum, no changes again, except the minimum of 2 directly connected flight skills with 1 A or B salto, either a second acro connection with a minimum of 2 directly connected flight skills or an isolated B salto. Their dance pass is the same, except now we are up to 150 degrees for their cross or side split, a minimum of a full turn on 1 foot. They also need 6 A's and 1 B, and all their allowable skills are from the Xcel code of points. They can do C dance, but no C or higher acro value parts. And an example, we have a round-off back handspring back tuck. She does a switch leg leap to a hitch kick, a 1.5 turn, and a round-off back tuck. Now, this routine is fine because in Xcel, the addition or the deletion of back handsprings, front handsprings, round-offs, when you have a acro pass with a salto, makes it a different pass. So she receives a 10.0 start value. On diamond, they need 2 separate acro connections, each with a minimum of 2 directly connected acro flight skills. Two different saltos within the routine. isolated or within a series, one of those saltos must be a B. The dance pass is exactly the same as for platinum. 150-degree crosser side split is required for them, but now they have to have a minimum of a B value part turn on one foot, and they need 5 A's and 2 B's. They may do the extra D. Anything more than that, one extra D, they would be getting the 5/10 unallowable deduction on each one of them. No bonus. They may use A, B, or C value parts from the Xcel Code of Points, and no E's or higher. And we do have our routine, and that shows with our new ruling of the double back, which is a D. So she opens with a double back. She does a switch side into a popa. She does a double turn and a front handspring front full for her second pass with a 10.0 start value. She has 3 A's, a B, 3 C's, and the 1 D. And remember, the higher valued part skill may take, if they are lacking one, it can be used to fulfill that.
Okay, and thank you so much, Nancy. I believe that concludes the floor slides that we have for Xcel. Right now, right before we jump into questions, we are going to take you to the Women's Artistic page on the USA Gymnastics website, so on usagym.org, and we're going to show you where to find updated information regarding Xcel. We did have quite a few chat questions regarding the updated changes and if those are included currently in the iBook that is available for the Xcel Code of Points. Those have been submitted, but those are not currently on the market at this point. They will be available soon for purchase. If you do need to see any of those updates, you can go to the Women's page, click on the Xcel program, and click on Xcel Updates, which is the second option on the drop-down menu. And you can refer to the committee minutes. So there's the National Committee and Joint Junior Olympic Technical Committee minutes here and available for your viewing, as well as the 2014 through 2015 rules and policies. You can click on the Xcel program overview for the Xcel frequently asked questions. So the Xcel FAQ is here available for you, and the contact list for your regional committee chairs is also available. So I'll just click on this really quickly, and you can see the information, contact information available for each committee chair for your region. You can also refer to your regional technical chair and CC. If you contact anyone for additional judging questions, you can CC your Xcel chair and also your regional technical chair for additional judging questions that you do have. So we will get started with our first question, and this was earlier in the presentation during the vault and bars, and this is actually a general Xcel question. It's for clarification. The dive roll is not a flight skill in Xcel. The Arabian dive roll is in a different box than the Xcel code. Would this count as a flight skill if a silver gymnast successfully completed the skill?
This is Diane, and I'll go ahead because I'm sure Nancy's looking at her other questions. The Arabian dive roll is a B acro skill. So the silver division athletes are not allowed to do B acros. That's one thing. And then in addition, dive rolls are not a flight skill. We use the same application as you do in the JO program. And it states in there, and now I can't find the page, but that an Arabian dive roll does not meet the requirement of the flight skill. So none of the dive rolls meet the requirement of a flight skill.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Diane. And the next question, what is the minimum table height for the new silver vault? If you guys have that question available.
The minimum table height for all Xcel vaults is they can go down as far as the lowest manufactured setting, as long as it will click in. And you can refer to the 2014-15 rules and policies and find that information there also.
Perfect. Our next question asks, which division does a round-off back handspring fit in for the vault?
I am guessing that they're talking about the Yurchenko approach with repulsion to feet. That is allowed at diamond only, and it is in the vault skill chart for diamond, and that is a 9.6 start value. But it is allowed at diamond only.
Okay. Our next question is addressing bars. If on bars, if they do 3 extra swings before the gymnast is actually doing the 45-degree cast, what would you do?
We apply the same rules as you do in JO because diamond and platinum athletes do receive extra swings, and because we count chronologically, then that is the 3rd time. So if they actually did a 45-degree cast on the 3rd time, they would not get special requirement because they had 2 before, and we must count chronologically.
Okay, perfect. Our next question is for bronze vault. Is it acceptable for a gymnast to step backward onto the springboard before doing a kick for flat back?
Yes, it is.
Perfect. And we will keep going down. If there's anything extra, I know you all have your questions there. Let's see here. For bronze vault, oh, I just read that one. Acceptable for flat back. Let's go down. And if you could please address the differentiation between a counter swing that receives a value part and an extra swing.
Well, it depends on the division. At silver and gold, if we follow the rule that you can do a skill 2 times and get credit, but the 3rd time it does not get credit, and those 2 times have to be with different exits and entrances. At silver and gold, they could get credit for 2 counter swings. You would not count a 3rd or a 4th one as an extra swing, but you would apply execution deductions as applicable because at silver and gold, there are no extra swings. However, at platinum, they are only allowed to do 1 tap swing counter swing to receive value part credit. Any others would receive the 3/10 extra swing deduction.
Okay, perfect. Our next question is the 2/10 and 3/10 deductions taken for beam footwork assuredness applied once or for each occurrence?
I'll take this. It's Jill.
Okay.
Thanks, Jill.
The following deductions are for throughout the exercise. So the insufficient variation in rhythm and tempo is a throughout the exercise deduction. You take once. The insufficient sureness would be throughout the exercise. The insufficient artistry is throughout the exercise, and that one's up to 3/10, and there's different categories for the 3/10. Originality and creativity, quality of gymnast movements, and quality of expression, and each one of those is 0.5 to 1/10. Relaxed and incorrect footwork on non-value parts throughout the exercise, throughout the whole thing, is up to 2/10, and up to 3/10 for relaxed or incorrect leg position and body posture, and insufficient flexibility in non-value parts throughout the exercise. So those deductions are all separate deductions, but they are all one time throughout the exercise.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jill. The next question for beam, if they do an unallowable dismount, what are the deductions? So if you could briefly go over those.
Okay, so let's pretend a silver athlete performed a punch front full dismount, which would not be allowed for their level. They would receive the special requirement. They would not receive the dismount special requirement, so that would be 5/10 off of their start value, and they would also receive the 3/10 deduction off the start value for no dismount. So the total deduction would be 8/10 off the start value for that.
Okay, wonderful. The next question refers to platinum beam. If there is only an acro and a back handspring, will that fulfill the acro requirement if the back handspring is the only acro in the routine?
In platinum, the third special requirement is one acro skill with flight or an acro series. Since the back handspring does have flight, that would count towards their acro requirement because they did have flight. They don't have to have a series if their skill has a flight.
Okay, perfect. And the next question is for gold beam. If the handstand is vertical, if it's not hit exactly, is it still a special requirement or an A skill?
Okay, so in gold beam, they do have to have two acro skills. One must achieve vertical, and the other one, it doesn't matter. So if the handstand that didn't hit vertical was their second acro skill, they would receive their special requirement as long as their other one did pass through vertical. Say it was a cartwheel. If they had two handstands and they both didn't hit vertical, and as long as one was, that neither one of them would get that special requirement. But they are counted as skills because they are listed in the skill chart for gold. There is an acro skill of a partial handstand. So it does count as an A, but it really just depends on if they had another acro skill that passed through or achieved vertical in order to count it towards the special requirement.
Okay, perfect. The next question, and this is a general question. We do have our National Xcel Committee Chair, Claudia Kretschmer, on the line as well. And this is a question for any of you all. Has the stretch jump been added to allowable skills on floor for any level?
I can take that. This is Nancy. No, it has not. So the stretch jump is not on the skill charts or in the Xcel Code of Points.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Nancy. The next question is again for Jill. For bronze beam, can you elaborate on the half-turn requirement and deduction? If they're performing a half-turn toe turn, how would they go 1 degree past 90 degrees?
Okay, so we've run into sometimes, I know, as judges, where a gymnast performs a turn, and especially at the lower levels, where they perform a half turn, but they don't quite get around or their heel drops early. We wanted to make sure that we clarified. So if the gymnast starts their turn and they end up more than a quarter turn around, even if it's 1 degree beyond the quarter turn, they still will get the special requirement for that. So they don't have to be perfectly all the way at a half turn. They will get a deduction for the amount they did miss going around, but they will receive their special requirement for that.
Okay, perfect. The next question, will a split leap, cat leap count for silver division?
As their
that's just the question that ended there. Yes, it ended there. This is the question that came up for that. So I don't believe it's for that level. We just were referring to the silver. We can skip that question and come back to that if you need to.
Is that for floor or for beam?
I believe it's for beam. It doesn't specify, but it looks like it's for, actually it looks like it would be for floor.
So if they did a split leap, cat leap?
Yes.
If it's for floor, it is acceptable. That would be an acceptable dance pass for floor.
Okay, perfect. And we'll keep scrolling down. So this next question, it looks like we're moving on to floor for Nancy. If a gold floor routine has a round-off back handspring tuck as the only acro, can it fulfill both requirements?
No, it cannot. The first special requirement says a minimum of 2 directly connected flight skills. The second requirement is either a second acro connection with a minimum of 2 directly connected flight skills or an isolated aerial or salto. So it may not be included in the first pass.
Okay, perfect. And this question looks like it was over the video. So for the floor video example, and we can actually go back to that really quickly, shown here, and we'll just play it. But the question is regarding there was no credit given for the back handspring routine, the gold routine shown, but it was noted that the platinum routine, in addition, there was deletion of the back handspring, forward handspring, and it makes a different pass before the credit. So if you could just go over that again,
Sure.
and I can play the video for you.
Okay, I'll kind of talk through this one a little bit. And she's going to open with the round off back handspring, So she has an A, an A, and an A. Because there's different entrances and exits in the two back handspring. Now the round off is okay. She gets an A there. She'd be on her straddle jump. The difference. Then we have the cat leap B. And then her leap into a tuck jump, which fulfills full turn, fulfills the full turn. Now our problem is she's going to do a round off back handspring here. It's her third back handspring, so it doesn't matter what it's connected to, it still is a 0. And the back handspring is also a third back handspring, so it also receives a 0. And she does not have, as a gold, she does not have then either a second acro connection with minimum of 2 directly connected flight skills because neither one of those receive value part, and she does not have an aerial or a salto. When we were talking about the addition or deletion of for handsprings and back handsprings, that is only in acro series passes that contain a salto. So if they do a round-off back handspring, back tuck, and a round-off back tuck, each one of those would be an okay series because they may, it's different than the JO rule, that makes it a different series.
Okay, perfect. Our next question, thank you, Nancy. Our next question is again for floor. For leaps when the requirement is less than 180 degrees, if the gymnast meets the requirements, are there any additional deductions for a lack of split?
They have the 20 degrees within 20 degrees of what their required split is, and so there could be that up to 2/10 of in between that 20 degrees and the required split. There could be insufficient split deduction of up to 2/10 taken off on those. Below that, you still can get execution and insufficient split, but you may not get the value part.
Okay, perfect. And now we will jump back up to beam. This question is for Jill. For gold beam, would a split leap, step, split leap get special requirement for a dance connection?
I believe the split, the step in between would break it, but Diane's probably better at knowing that answer for sure.
The question was split leap and then step
Split leap on beam.
Yes, would that get the special requirement for the dance connection?
I believe I'm just going to look at something real quickly. If there was another question that could be asked. Now,
sure.
A split leap and a stag split leap are the same skill, but that would be okay for a gold dance series because it does not have to be, and this is gold beam, it does not have to be two different skills. So even though the split leap and a stag split leap are considered the same skill if you look in the box in the Xcel code of points, it doesn't matter on beam. They may be the same skill. So that would work for as long as they got to the full required split that's required for gold.
And the step would not break the dance series. The step.
No, as long as it was leap, they land on their right foot, and then they step on their left foot into another right-footed stag leap, they would be okay.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jill and Diane. The next question, we only have a couple questions left. Thank you all for staying on the call, and thank you all attendees for your questions. The next to last question is for vault. For any vaults involving flat backs, such as the bronze vault, does the gymnast need to show a tight, hollow shape upon landing on the mats, or can they land completely flat? If so, how long must they show this position?
They are supposed to land completely flat, and if they were too hollow, it may cause an execution deduction in their position. As far as how long they show it, it just has to be marked, and then they can sit up and salute and then be done. There's not, they don't have to hold it for 3 seconds or 2 seconds, or as long as they have obviously marked the position, then it is okay.
Okay, thank you. And the last question for beam, is the half turn just a minute, or can a silver go for a quarter turn or a full turn?
The requirement for bronze is a minimum of a half turn on 1 or 2 feet. So a bronze gymnast could do a full turn for this special requirement, but again, they must be 1 degree more than the half requirement. So doing a quarter turn would not meet that requirement to get special requirement credit.
Okay, wonderful. So again, we want to thank all of our presenters today, Nancy Gibson, Region 5 Xcel Committee Chair, Jill Preston, Region 1 Xcel Committee Chair, and Diane Palmer. You all did a wonderful job today. We really appreciate you being our guest presenters for this USA Gymnastics webinar. For all the attendees, if you could please do the survey at the end of the webinar and give us your feedback or any additional questions that you did not think of during our question and answer portion. We really appreciate that, and we hope you would join us later on next month for our next USA Gymnastics webinar. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.